Oakhaven is tearing itself apart. The main plaza is a furnace of noise and motion. Smoke chokes the air, thick with the sharp, chemical sting of burning rubber and the relentless, jagged roar of 1,000 voices screaming at once. Overturned vehicles block the intersections, their metal frames groaning under the heat. Debris litters the asphalt, crunching under the weight of the surging crowd. Yet, in the very center of this upheaval, the motion stops. Elias stands motionless. His boots are planted deep into the cracked ground, unmoving as the tide of rage swirls around him. He does not shout, he does not run. He simply raises his right hand, palm open to the violet sky. His fingers twitch, and the air begins to hum a low, resonant frequency. From his fingertips, golden geometric patterns begin to bleed into reality. They swirl like liquid light, weaving through the smoke and the shadows. The light is precise, rhythmic, and cold. As the patterns expand, they pulse with a steady, hypnotic beat, casting a shimmering glow against the soot-stained walls. The crowd surged forward, a wall of bodies driven by raw, unthinking momentum. They did not see the light until it was inches from their faces. Elias pushed his hand forward, and the golden patterns expanded with the force of a physical barrier. The geometry slammed into the wall of sound, turning the roar of the mob into a dull, muffled vibration. Where the light touched the rioters, they stumbled, their forward momentum halted by the sudden, rhythmic pressure of the golden waves. The light did not stop at the people. It surged past them, a golden tide rushing toward the perimeter of the plaza. It struck a crumbling brick wall. The impact was instantaneous. Dust and loose mortar flew into the air, but instead of falling, the debris suspended itself. The golden lines wove through the gaps. With a sharp, crystalline snap, the cracks sealed. The masonry knit itself together, the mortar hardening into solid, reinforced stone. The wall stood whole again. The crowd froze, their rage momentarily eclipsed by the sight of the impossible. The air in the plaza shifted, the heat of the fire cooling as the golden light continued to ripple outward. Elias stepped into the rhythm of the city, his hands moving with the deliberate, sweeping grace of a conductor. He swung his left arm wide, slicing through the air, and the harsh, piercing screech of nearby police sirens began to warp. The mechanical wail deepened, stretching and vibrating until it settled into the heavy, resonant thrum of a cello. He flicked his right wrist, and the jagged, discordant shouts of the mob softened instantly. The anger in their voices bled away, replaced by the soaring, melodic swell of a violin section. The air itself seemed to thicken with the sound. Above the plaza, the violet sky began to pulse in perfect time with his gestures, a rhythmic strobe of light that matched the beat of the emerging symphony. Every motion Elias made sent a new wave of golden geometry cascading through the streets, forcing the chaos to surrender to the melody. The sound of the city had vanished, replaced by a sublime, sweeping orchestral arrangement that echoed off the restored walls. Elias pivoted, his gaze locking onto a storefront where flames licked hungrily at the frame. He thrust both palms forward, and a concentrated pulse of golden geometry erupted from his fingertips. The light did not merely touch the fire, it suffocated it. The flames flared a brilliant, angry white, struggling against the incoming wave, before they were abruptly extinguished. The charred wood darkened, then smoothed, as the glass windows shattered outward and then reassembled, shard by shard, into pristine, transparent panes. The heat vanished, leaving only the cool, crisp air of a winter morning. Elias did not pause. He swept his arms in a wide, circular arc, tracing the perimeter of the plaza. Golden lines of light began to stitch themselves into the air, rising from the pavement like glowing rebar. They intersected, multiplied, and locked together, forming a massive, shimmering dome that arched over the entire square. The rioters stood frozen beneath this canopy. The dome pulsed once, a heavy, rhythmic thrum that resonated in their chests, forcing their hands to drop and their shoulders to relax. Elias closed his eyes. His hands drifted toward each other, palms meeting in a final, fluid motion that drew the scattered light into a singular point of intensity. The golden patterns shuddered, then locked into place, hardening into a permanent, shimmering lattice that blanketed the city in a soft, ethereal glow. The hum of the symphony faded into a resonant, lasting chord that vibrated through the very foundation of the streets. Buildings that had been on the verge of collapse now stood tall, their surfaces glowing with a renewed luster. The riot was gone. In the plaza, the people stood motionless, their breath hitching in the sudden, heavy silence. They looked up at the golden canopy, their faces reflecting the calm of a world that had been violently brought to order. The air was still. The chaos had been scrubbed away, replaced by a profound, unbreakable harmony that held the city in a state of absolute, breathless peace.